Welcome to the Executive Coaching Podcast, where executive coach Alicia Cowan will discuss leadership topics and coaching solutions to tackle the most difficult problems that keep you from leading your team to success.
Hello there. It's Alicia, and this is episode number 11 of the Executive Coaching Podcast. And it's hard to believe that it's been now 11 episodes that I'm recording as of today. But this spring has really flown by, and really excited to hit the milestone of hitting 10 episodes. And now with number 11 coming your way today, we're going to talk about delegating. And so we spent a good chunk of content and podcast as we launched this around like managing yourself and leading yourself and how that shows up when you're leading others. And we're going to talk now about kind of switch into talking a lot about topics about leading others. And really one that I want to start off with is really delegating. And so I always like to start off with what's going on around the Cowan household in a personal note. So this week, it's mid-April as I'm recording this, we are headed to the highly sought after Taylor Swift concert. The tickets were sold out almost immediately across the country, and it was amazing to kind of watch. Could not believe that we got tickets. So I'm taking 3 daughters this week to the Taylor Swift concert. And so we're all dressing up as different eras of Taylor and different albums. And so we will be there on Friday night. So next time I record, I'll give you an update on my review of the concert, but I've heard nothing but amazing things. And it's spring here, and I cannot believe we're about a month away from school getting out. We're wrapping up a competitive cheer season with our 13-year-old daughter, and the house is still underway. So talk about an exercise of patience. We are waiting on a front door right now so that we can pass our framing inspection and then move on, hopefully, to drywall, which I feel like I've been saying for quite a while now. So that's where we're at with that. So let's dive into our topic for today, and let's talk about delegating and delegating to a team. So I've been doing a couple of things. I have a one-on-one coaching practice. So I've been coaching leaders around the topic of delegating and leading and managing a team, and especially leaders that are managing other managers, right? Like leading leaders of leaders. So people that have direct reports that have direct reports, and how to delegate. And part of course, being an executive and a leader is managing workload and workflow. And of course, that comes with delegating work. So it comes up in that one-on-one coaching practice. I also have group coaching sessions where I help coach managers and help them around the topic of delegating. So it's just been on my mind lately. And I think there's a couple of things I wanted to help you out with and give you some tools in order to use some of the coaching tools to help around delegating. Because it's, again, no matter what level you're at, even as you progress in your career and grow, it just means more delegation to more people. So it's something we really kind of have to face day in and day out in the workplace as a leader and as an executive. So this may be for you if you find yourself with some work that needs to be delegated. It could be anything. And again, it could be something that could be very small in terms of a task. It could be something that's a massive multi-month or year project. You find yourself facing some work, right? Needs to be delegated. Some of your thoughts, and again, I think this is something typically that comes up, is that I can do it better, faster, more accurate, and it feels like a burden. And you're fearful of delegating because you're unsure if it's going to get done correctly. Another thought I know for busy executives is that it takes too much time. Like, I need results now. And you feel pressure, and you feel the pressure to get it right and get as many results right as you can from the people that you know can do it well. There also, I found recently, is a sense of guilt. And because of sometimes burnout or overwhelm that we may be facing or seeing in the workplace. And again, I talked about burnout in my last podcast. I'm starting to see a correlated sense of guilt because of the thought, like, I don't want to burden them. The team is so busy. I don't want them to get overwhelmed and burn out and quit. And so they're hesitant. Leaders become hesitant because of that guilt to pass along the work. I've also seen, again, still the same sense of guilt, but also the thought that's holding people back is, I don't want to set them up to fail. And they may not be ready to take that on yet. So a little bit hesitant because they don't want mistakes to be made, or they're trying to provide top cover. And while that sounds definitely nice and friendly, it definitely can lead to ineffective development of the team. So these thoughts, again, I think they come up and they can, again, sometimes sound altruistic, but sometimes they feel more heavy, and they feel, like giving us a sense of being impatient, feelings, again, like I said, of guilt, maybe hesitancy around giving work to the team. Again, I think there's an underlying sense of fear. And what happens is, as a result of this feeling, is that leaders are, again, holding back work and not delegating. Perhaps they also just give a little bit of work, or just, not the full amount that they would want to. And they dwell on what could go wrong or what has gone wrong in the past. And it really holds back the entire team, right? Holds back you as a leader, and holds back the direct reports, and it holds back, again, the broader team. So while some of the thoughts that hold us back from delegation feel super heavy, we can work through it. And there is a way to get to the place when it comes to the point when you're thinking, I have this work to delegate, again, big or small, doesn't matter the task. You can get to the place where you feel light and you think, I have someone to help me that I can trust. And you're thinking about their development, and you're thinking, I can't wait to teach them. And I know exactly who can do this for me. Can't wait to see what they come up with and what they can do. Could be just as simple as, this is a really great learning opportunity for them and a growth opportunity for them to expand. I'm going to set them up for success. It's okay if they make mistakes, and I'm going to give them that opportunity to grow and develop, even if it doesn't go exactly as I expected. Maybe it'll go better than I expected. And you can get to the feeling of relief and excitement and encouragement. And even it just gets to the point where you're at least neutral. So let's talk about how we can potentially do that. Okay, so let's talk about how to move from feeling burdened and heavy and overwhelmed with even just the work of delegating into at least a sense of more calm and support and relieved and excited to help your team and give this work to your team as a way to not only produce more for the organization and the company, but even just for them and their development and their growth. So what I call this work in the middle is truly just working through, called the river of misery. We're transitioning from, thoughts that aren't working for us. In this case, our thoughts around delegating aren't necessarily always the best, right? They're, again, not helping us, we'll put it that way. And they're not helping us deliver the results that we want, to moving to thoughts that will help us be more productive with the process of delegation to our team. And let's talk about this and ways to work through it. And I'm going to highlight this using an example that I worked through with a client recently. So the first step is really just to get clear on the work that you want to delegate. So whether it's a series of tasks or in a big project, a long-term project, a short-term project, or just a simple assignment, whatever the outcome it is that you're looking for, get really clear about it and write down the work that you want to delegate, write down the outcome. Okay. The second piece is, you're looking at that, think about, what is my thought about this work? When you think about that task, what comes up for you? So let me go to a story to help illustrate an example of this. So I have a client that had a new hire that was working for someone on her team. So it was a person that was reporting to one of her direct reports. they were hired as a backfill for another leader that had been promoted. So this person was brought onto the team to take on the work of that person that was recently promoted. So the person that got the new promotion and new role could take on different work, right? So basically, shifting responsibilities, and this new person was really empowered to take on all these tasks so that this other person could be freed up to do some work. And we're still kind of new in her onboarding process. She was newer to the company and just had started to learn some of the processes. She was coming from a different field and but had the skill sets, right, of this new role, but had some transition period. So the leader that was delegating this work had this feeling of impatience, and she was thinking about this work that needed to be delegated, and a lot of it involved, of course, getting this leader onboarded and trained. And it was about 6 weeks then, and the leader, she just wasn't picking up as fast as the supervisor thought she should pick it up. So when we looked at it and we were thinking about this work that needed to be delegated, and her thought around it, there was a lot of pressure, was the feeling, and her thought that was driving all this pressure was, we need to get her up and running quickly so that this other person can do the job that they were promoted to do. And I have so much work that isn't even getting done or touched because she hasn't started working on it because this person needs to take this other work on. Right. So, because at first it started out just as her thoughts around the individual that was new to the team. And she was, again, thinking that she needed to pick it up quicker, and we kind of backed it up. And so when I say, look at your thoughts that are surrounding the work that needs to be delegated, look at, what are you thinking about that work? And what is the feeling that comes from those thoughts? And really start to dig and peel back the layers, write down all the thoughts that you're having about it. Because sometimes, again, the initial thought here was that it was about the individual and how fast they were picking or not picking up the work, when really this person had another layer that they were thinking about the entire team, which was driving all the pressure, which was, again, this person, this new hire needs to pick up and take on all this work so that everybody on the team can do the work that they were meant to do. And of course, you can feel that, right? You can feel the pressure on that individual and the pressure on the team for everybody to get this person up and running, for the individual to pick it up really quickly, for that other individual that got promoted and that was supposed to do different work, like the pressure on her to get to that work that she hadn't gotten to yet. So it just had this feeling of heaviness and weight, and it just was not leading to this person picking up the work quicker, right? It wasn't leading to the result, that feeling of heaviness, the impatience there, the pressure wasn't giving this person space and freedom and ability to pick these things up quicker. It felt too heavy, right? And so I think really pause and take a step back and start to see, what are some of my thoughts that are blocking me, potentially blocking me from delegating and giving this work away, and what's holding the team back, right? So once we uncovered that thought, that the root of this, the issue was that pressure that everybody was feeling about this delegation and this shifting of roles and responsibilities on this team, I think the first thing that happened was just this immediate sense of clarity and awareness, right? And so when you can kind of step back, right, and see, like, what is really going on here? What's the root cause of some of these challenges? It immediately, sometimes right then and there, you can work through and coach yourself through it, because you're like, oh, this makes sense. Of course, I'm feeling pressure. And of course, it makes it harder on this individual to pick up these new tasks or to take on this work that's been delegated, because I'm putting all this pressure on this individual to take this stuff on without allowing her time and space to train and develop and onboard herself onto the team and get settled in this new role, right? So sometimes just when we uncover that thought and what we're thinking, it allows, again, us to have that sense of awareness and just move on from it, right? Just say, okay, let me take a step back, and we can course correct there. If that still doesn't happen for you, can step into the next step, which is really like looking at your reasons of why you want to delegate and why you still have a desire to delegate the work, if you still do, right? So what and why do you want to delegate the work? So in that prior example, this executive had a realization that while the work she needed to get done was important. So again, she wanted this new promoted associate to take on some important tasks, and this role was created for her. Totally makes sense. And while that work was important, so was training this new associate correctly and really allowing her to transition to her new role without all the pressure. That was a big reason why she wanted this to go well. She also realized that the culture on her team was super important. And the longevity of all of the individuals' careers was super important to her, right? So she hired this individual new to the team, and she said that she can be in this role for years and develop and grow and have a lot of runway. And so her getting properly trained and onboarded is super important. And then secondly, while she still wanted that work to get done by the newly promoted associate, the how was equally important. So again, that work had been get done, and everything's been, again, okay. This was not 911 fires that were burning. The how was equally important to her, and not just the immediacy of the result. And so when we were able to step back and figure out the reasons, what are your reasons for wanting to delegate and how you want to delegate? And if you're looking at those reasons and saying, okay, I've been incongruent or out of alignment with what I really want to do and what my values are here, then you can adjust and make adjustments. So that's what I've got in delegation is, again, we think it's in the tactics, right? And there's tons of tactics. If you want tactics, there are lots of different tactics on approaching how to delegate and what to delegate and when. But I think if you're struggling with delegation and you're like really getting stuck, again, this is a very specific instance. So I encourage you, use one of your own personal specific instances. If you're getting stuck on delegation, really uncover the thought. What's holding you back? What are you thinking? How are you feeling about it? And if it's feeling not great, right? If there's some sort of burden or discomfort or fear or anxiety around like giving work away, gotta get to the root of what the thought is that's causing that feeling, right? A lot of times, again, in this situation that I gave through this podcast was the example of these individuals, but it wasn't the individuals in this situation. It was the thoughts that the supervisor was having around and the pressure that she felt around the work that she believed wasn't getting done. When really, when we looked at it, the how the work was getting done was equally as important as the results that she wanted. And by working through that thought and working through the thought process, she was able to get to a place where everything that she wanted to accomplish was going to be way more attainable through her new thought was, I want to make sure that this team can develop in the way that I need them to, which meant giving space to the individual to learn and giving space for the newly promoted associate to grow and develop as well. So think through it. Think through what you're thinking that may be blocking you from delegating work out to your team. And if you are struggling with this or know somebody that is struggling with delegating, I am so happy to help. You can get a hold of me. We can schedule an absolutely free call to talk through what challenges you may be facing and start to get to the root of the solution right away. So if you want to get a hold of me, my website is aliciacowan.coaching.com. It's ELISIAKEOWN coaching.com. And as always, thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Executive Coaching Podcast with Alicia Cowan. If you're ready to have an executive coach who's ready to help you lead your team to success, then book an introductory call at aliciacowancoaching.com/call.